And we're live. Wow, it really has been. But the dynamic duo is back once again.
It feels like, I mean, so much has happened this Sunday. It feels like we've done a whole bunch of stuff.
Listen, let me tell you, like I said it during our WWE review on Sunday, this weekend was jam-packed with a bunch of stuff. NXT had a pay-per-view. Freaky Grand Slam Australia happened.
Ooh, so good. So good. We'll talk about it.
So, I mean, British wrestling was in the house this weekend too.
I got to go back and watch it. I'm a triller. I haven't had time.
I know Progress. We're doing a review of their next show next Thursday for My Own Destiny for Progress's next show, which is going to be fun because Mako Satomura is in it, and I'm excited. Japanese legend, love her. And then, of course, you know, GCW just wrapped up their 2-night Jersey J Cup. Andrew's catching up on all that today.
I mean, it's good. It's nice to have wrestling homework, right? It's bad to have other homework like, oh, I got a great stuff. I don't want to do that. I'm going to go watch GCW.
Reels. Oh my goodness. But Professor and I are back once again because the All Elite reviews are here of the year for AEW and Revolution.
I don't think the three of us have been on the air since the summer, right? Like, it's been a minute.
I feel like the last time was May.
Is it really going that far back?
I think so. It's been a hot minute.
Maria. Wow.
I know. We'll talk off camera afterwards because there was a period where I was just like, is everyone alive? It's like Disney's Journey into Atlantis. All right, who's not dead? So, but just a little bit of housekeeping. If you like what you see here, follow us all over the social medias. We have a Facebook, a Twitter, well, not Twitter, a Blue Sky, an Instagram, a Threads. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitch. We have merchandise. You know the drill at this point because I really want to talk about AEW because I actually really enjoyed it this week. So let's just kick things off with Dynamite. So this is the Wednesday, February 12th Dynamite that we are going to take a look at. And things open up with Max Caster's open challenge. So once again, he is having an open challenge for anybody to come out. And even though we saw this a mile away, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Like, Hangman Adam Page answers it. Max Caster tries to run away. That is not the case. And spoiler alert, Hangman Aggro Page picks up the victory over Max. Like,
did you say Hangman Aggro Page? Is that
yeah, Hangman Aggro Page because he's in his aggro era right now.
It seems like when he's had his most aggressive, he is his strongest face, right?
Right. It
seems like when he's his quiet, brooding, sad Adam is when he's the better heel and make him a baby face. We're just going to ignore that. That never happened. That's actually a good point.
Not to mention LA Knight, potential B&E, like when he was feuding with AJ, like crimes do not exist in the wrestling world, apparently.
I mean, well, it depends on if that's the story. Nobody presses charges for some reason. Everyone gets off the hook every single time.
That is crazy. Speaking of Hook, we're going to talk about him a little bit later because
oh man, what a dumb name. Well, we'll talk about it. Go ahead.
It's so stupid, but I love it. Anyways, so nothing really to say here. Max Caster loses again. Hangman Aggro Page, we'll talk to you a little bit later. I'm so mad that this match was an actual banger. Like, this is the first time we've seen these things defended since the Death Riders won these things.
I had fun watching this. I know we got a lot to talk about, so I want to pick and choose what we dive into. But again, I'm not a huge trios guy. It seems like it's very hit or miss. It's a flip of a coin. This was fun. Claudio got to be Claudio. There's no way this is going to happen. Wheeler Yuta's a jerk. Just the whiny, I don't want to say whiny, is not what I mean, but the sort of conniving heel stuff that he does, like, it's pretty great.
I mean, Wheeler is kind of being a jerk because it's because of the low blow to Kyle O'Reilly that it does allow the Death Riders to win and retain. Of course, the Death Riders beat up on the Undisputed Kingdom until they are saved by Mr. Danny Garcia and 2.0. So, hey, you know what? If these are the three trios that are going to be fighting for these trios championships, I'm cool with it. But we got to figure out what we're doing with Daniel because he is the TNT champion. I'm like, I want to see him defend
that. I don't know what it's called. I just had to go back here and find it. The leg sweep clothesline thing that they pull on Wheeler. I don't know. They pulled on Wheeler Yuta. That thing looked like it hurt a lot.
For reals.
There's no way to do that clean. And this was a great match. They took a full 18 minutes here or something crazy like that. Like, let this ride.
Oh, absolutely. This was a fun one. And I'm like, Tony Khan, make these trios championships be defended more because they are fantastic. The Death Riders are great, and any trios can fight them because it's great. So after this match and, 2.0 and Daniel Garcia saved the Undisputed Kingdom, we cut backstage with Marina Shafir and Mox just walking. And then, you know what? Babyface is being smart because they throw Marina into the room. Jay White comes, Cope throws Marina Shafir into the room. Jay White comes out with like bolt cutters to cut the handcuffs off, and they lock her in the room and run away with the briefcase. I'm like, Babyface is being smart. I will not be repeating this sentence when we get to Grand Slam Australia, but
How did Moxley not see Copeland?
that's what I want to know.
Like, I'm trying to rewatch it right now. Like, how did he walked like inches from and we're just gonna go full Scooby-Doo, like, nope, didn't see it. Like, wait, what? I'm gonna try and pull it up because I remember being it wasn't enough to take me out of it. I thought about it after the fact, like, wait a minute. Similar to Christian last week, where it was sort of hiding behind the corners and everything else.
Right.
Like, this one I was like, wait.
I mean, to be fair, Moxley did get hit with the chair when this all went down too. So take out Mox, throw Marina in there. And then Mox comes in, lets Marina out, and then they go on the hunt for Mr. Cope and Jay White.
Oh, man. This was fun. No, this is great. I don't hate this. Hang on. I'm trying to, okay. It goes this way. Wait, hang on. No. Hang on. Sorry. I know, bad podcasting. I'm trying to watch this.
The professor is watching the order of events.
Well, because there we go. So they come down the hallway. She gets mad at the camera. Moxley goes this way. How do you? Yeah, there's no way that doesn't make sense. He was right there.
Stage eating.
I'm sorry. It's just it was so fast. I didn't think of it until much later. Like, wait a minute, what? I don't know. Anyway.
Don't worry. You and JVL can talk all about the theatrics together. Anyways, so Cope and Jay at this point of Dynamite had the briefcase. So we're going to talk about them in a little bit. Let me tell you, I have to pick and choose which MJF promos. Sometimes they're all the same. I really love this interaction between MJF and Hangman Page. I'm just like, this is the feud that I want to give it to me. And spoiler alert, I'm pretty sure they are going to give it to us.
We get it. I mean, spoiler alert, we get it next week, right? We get it tomorrow.
I think so. I have to look it up again. Or if not, give it to me at Revolution too, because that's going to be a fun one. But anyways, so of course MJF starts, when Hangman tells him to leave. MJF makes fun of the drinking problem, and then Hangman tells MJF to hit him with something a little more complex. So then MJF's like, oh, okay, you want me to go off? I'm going to go off. MJF tells Hangman that, Hangman's not as twisted as he pretends to be. He doesn't have the stomach to do what he's been doing, and he knows it. MJF says it makes him sick that people cheer for Hangman and that they owe him an apology for the disrespect they've been showing him. And Hangman looks legitimate bothered by MJF's word as he leaves. I'm like, babyface turn is coming very soon, y'all.
Didn't he call him Seabiscuit too?
Yeah, he called him Seabiscuit. And I'm just like, okay, we're getting this. I was like, I cannot wait for this to be a slow burn. Spoiler alert, we hit the first chapter in 15 minutes from now.
I know. I love that. Well, this is what we've been talking about, right? Like, this is like the third or fourth. I think we should have let this. Nope, it's going now.
We're just going to do it.
There's nothing. Sorry, puppies barking.
Puppers. I love it. Speaking of things that I love, the trio is back. I called this. I was like, please bring Shibata back. I swear Tony Kong has our feed and my house bugged because Shibata is back with Joe and Hook. Makes me super excited. Essentially, this was a quick squash match in which Samoa Joe, Hook, and Shibata defeat Aaron Solo, Rosario Grillo, and of course, everyone's favorite mystery, Mr. John Cruz. Is he Serpentico? Is he not? We will never know. It's like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know.
Yeah, it writes itself.
Okay.
This
name is kind of stupid. It is stupid, but I am here for the stupidity. Because now, listen, Samoa Joe cutting promos and using the word ops. I was like, the ops are out for here. I'm just like, I feel like Samoa Joe listens to a lot of Kendrick Lamar. I'm just saying, like,
I mean, probably. It might grow on me. There's a lot of dumb faction names over time. This was a tough sell for me. It's just, there's so many cool street savvy tough guy things they could have picked. Hell, even if they'd said, we're the problem solvers, I would have been like, yeah, you solve problems. Op.
I will be rocking that too. Listen, I will take Ops over Death Riders. I'm still trying to get over that's what the name we decided.
Death Riders.
I was like, we could have called ourselves the Switchblade Conspiracy, and I would have been fine with that.
Bro, that's great. I mean, yeah, Death Riders is a little early 70s comic book. Yeah, I don't mind the kitschiness of it. It's growing on me, but it's still never going to be great. Ops? Dark Ops. If it was Street Ops. If
Or
it
Rogue
was,
Ops.
give me an adjective, man. Like something there. Not just we the ops. Okay. I don't know.
The bias is rubbing off. And just see, this is what happens when you hang out with mostly queer folks here at BC
Theater,
Wrestling.
man. Theater. That's
That
never
is
too
also
far
true.
away.
That is very. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't know what I would do myself if Samoa Joe and I were left in the room.
I mean,
Do you mind? So the important thing, despite whether we like the name or not, the important thing is that the Ops have challenged the patriarchy to a match, which is happening tomorrow night on Dynamite. So I'm like, please let this be a banger. Give them like 10, 15 minutes. This is what we've been building towards with this on again, off again feud. Hook has been feuding with the patriarchy by himself. Now that he has Joe and Shibata back, I am excited. I cannot wait. Hopefully it's great. The same can't be said for what happened next.
Yeah, they had anyway.
So let me give the thing, and then we'll talk about how bad this was. So originally, this started with Renee in the back talking to Chris Jericho, and Jericho begins to discuss Brian Keith's failed attempts to collect the bounty on Bandito. So Jericho wants to handle the situation with the showdown right now. I'm like, oh, okay, we're getting a Bandito Chris Jericho match. Cool. I love this. This is great. I should have known better that when Chris Jericho said showdown, I should have had an inkling that we were going to get a literal showdown, not an actual match. So I'm just sitting here like, this is crazy. Well, okay, this is how crazy it gets though, because we get that segment, we go to commercial, we come back, we don't even get the second half of this segment because first, Marina Shafir just jumps Willow Nightingale as she's being interviewed by Renee Paquette. And I'm just sitting here like, what are we doing? I'll go back to you in a little bit. I thought I had a picture. Never mind. Willow Nightingale gets jumped, and then we come back to the ring to watch this showdown. I'm like, okay, that is not great pacing. You should have had it just one and done. Don't break it up. So these two get in the ring. They turn around, they go to the corners, and then they just fight. The fights continue. They both men take about 5 paces. They begin fight. The Outrunners come out to save the day. Chris Jericho then calls Big Bill to, terrorize everybody. But then Powerhouse Hobbs comes out and lays out Big Bill. I will say, though, we are getting a Powerhouse Hobbs and Big Bill street fight tomorrow, and I am actually really excited for that match.
Those are probably 2 of your 4 biggest guys, right? If you go Samoa Joe, Hobbs, Bill, Brian Cage. I mean, maybe I just forgot his name who walked out with Brian Cage, Archer. Like, those are your 5 or 6 biggest dudes. I thought this was a great segment, and Jericho killed it because that's what Jericho does. He's always looking for t-shirts or angles or other things, and he saw something he liked. Creative said, go ahead, and just kind of warped it. This could have been a cool thing for Bandito, that all his matches were this sort of dual thing, but you got to invest in it. Now they just kind of made a commentary on it by making it a cheat and kind of a meh fight thing after.
Well, the crazy thing is that you would think that they would put Dynamite or Collision like Bandito and the Outrunners versus the Learning Tree. Spoiler alert, we got that last night as part of Ring of Honor's Global Wars Australia because Bandito and the Outrunners beat the Learning Tree, but of course nobody watches Ring of Honor. Me. They do still, even though we don't review it. And same thing, Powerhouse Learning Tree tries to destroy Bandito and the Outrunners. Powerhouse Hobbs comes to even it out. So I'm like, I wanted to see that match on Dynamite or Collision. I'm glad I saw it on Ring of Honor because it was a pretty fun match. The Outrunners are so unserious. I love them so much. But, I think this is the only time we're going to see this kind of showdown happen because only Chris Jericho will do it.
Which is a shame because this could have been something Bandito could have used forever.
But because they kind of had him drop the bounty hunter part, I'm like, I want Bandito versus the bounty hunter Brian Keith. That's what I want, not Learning Tree Brian Keith. And I will say they did have a banger last week, and I actually really enjoyed it. We talked about it. Anyways, so backstage with Renee, Dustin Rhodes hypes his back up, and that is what we're going to talk about next: is Dustin Rhodes versus MJF. Yeah, it was a match.
I had a blast. I enjoyed this.
I did have fun with this too. I did.
Yeah, Dustin Rhodes is 54, 55, has been doing this for
reals.
And his emotional state is taking it to all ups and downs. You could go to dark side of the ring for all that stuff. Came out and had an incredible match with MJF, but not like a, high flying technical spec. This was like a mid 90s storytelling type of match. And MJF is really well versed in that stuff. There were 90s moves we never see. There was a back rake, I think, at one point. Like there was some posturing in certain moments. We had the Gold Dust throwbacks a few times, which were hilarious, which were fun to see. I really respected this, and I think Dustin Rhodes, as teacher of wrestling Dustin Rhodes, sort of, did this. This was a pure storytelling type of match. The shots were hard, of course. They did everything they had to do. There was really good 1 or 2 kickouts where I was like, oh my God, is Dustin going to win this? Which they were close, like to the point where I was like, was that a mistake? Oh my God. Going from the crossroads into the last ride into all those things, like, oh, this was amazing. What makes me sad is this was a chance to kind of give Dustin a little bump as ROH champion, and this is again another champion getting buried, right? Which we're seeing across a few promotions right now, where it's like, oh, do you have a championship? Doesn't matter. Like, okay, that's kind of unfortunate. It was nice to see some of these throws in there. So, but again, this was fun. It wasn't quite my put this on the list for the year match, but this was one that, did make me happy. And they gave him like 17, 18 minutes. Like this was long.
Well, I even like the ending in this match too.
Yeah.
Because MJF wins via pass out because Dustin didn't tap or submit or get pinned or anything.
I didn't mind that.
So Dustin still looks strong while pushing over MJF. After the match, MJF continues to battle Dustin. Hangman Page gets involved. They have a stare down. Chaos reigns supreme as we get a 5-minute brawl across the arena.
I love when they go into the MJF and Adam Page can go into the crowd and it works. Some other wrestlers we know can't. MJF throwing a beer at a fan, I thought was
at least he didn't throw it in their face. That poor kid, man. MJF threw an alcoholic beverage in a kid and it hit him in the face. I'm like, what?
Yeah. No, I thought this was. I love that we were getting this, and like we talked about, like there's no slow burn here. We're getting it now. Like we're just gonna jump to the good part. I'm trying to find it. Adam hit MJF really snug, as we like to say, and I'm trying to find where it was. It looked like he clipped him a little too good, and then MJF got really mad, and then we went for it. That poor security guard that got destroyed. It was great. This was fun. What's hard though is we did this. This should have ended the night.
I mean,
This should have been your button for the night, and everyone after this kind of we're still great, and we'll talk about it, but got kind of caught up in the wake of the momentum false climax of that. Still great though. Still fun.
Oh, absolutely. So we move on. All hail the Mega Sis.
She's amazing.
Love Mega Bang, of course. Thanks to you, Andrew, for introducing me to Mega Bang through GCW. We love her. She's going to be killing it in AEW. She wins her squash match against Maya World, who we have seen for those of us that covered Ring of Honor. She was also heavily featured in Ring of Honor doing the same thing, but my favorite part, I don't think I have the picture. No, not for this one. But I love that after Megan walks up the ramp, we immediately get into our next match, which is Chris versus Penelope. I love that as Megan's walking to head to the back, Chris does her entrance, and then they have that stare down. I'm like, listen, you have teased Megan and Thunder. We might be getting Megan. You're teasing Megan and Chris. I'm just like, oh man, these are the first 2 feuds for Megan, I am not going to be complaining. So we're going to bookend this though, because I do want to talk about this because Megan will make a reappearance in a little bit. But Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford, and I have to say, girls, you killed it. Penelope's great. I love seeing Chris back on TV. She's been absent for a couple weeks. Fantastic. I thought this was great. Give me more women's matches, Tony. You know this.
Yeah, I'm glad they have been booking the women better in 2025. At least on Dynamite. I haven't watched enough Collision, but it seems to me, at least on Dynamite, they're booking the women a lot better. And that's probably been since when we talked. It's probably since Mercedes came in, as she wanted to push for it. And it's worked. It just took a while. It was a lot of fun. I'm a little bit familiar with Penelope Ford, not like I should be. I know she was hurt for a long time. What was her injury? They said
she was out due to injury and stuff like that. And of course, I love Penelope because she is also the wife of Kip Sabian, who is currently in the Patriarch. Mm-hmm. Both of them are great. Funny enough, they were the first wrestlers to work with when Miro came into AEW, and they were part of that little faction too. And in fact, Penelope and Chris do have a history because it was Miro, Kip Sabian, and Penelope Ford versus Orange Cassidy, Trent Beretta, and a returning Chris Statlander in like a street fight, but it was like arcade theme where there was a claw machine involved. Like this is like 3-4 years ago.
Wow.
And this is when Chris's last gimmick, when she didn't speak and she was the alien Chris Statlander.
Which I heard was super cool.
That was also the era where we got what introduced me to AEW, which was the Thunder Rosa, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, St. Patty's Day Lights Out match, where we got the iconic Britt Baker bleeding all over.
It was just a few months before I started on the AEW train, I guess. All right. Fascinating. This was fun. This was a great match. Again, I feel like this one should have been the second to last. And then we got what we got. And I was like, you would just move this around a little. It would have, doesn't matter what I think. Still a great match. This was fun.
No, and then the ending was great too, because Chris wins, and then Megan Bang comes back out and F5s her onto the floor. Yep. I'm like, yes, Chris versus Megan, Thunder versus Megan, triple threat, don't care, I love it. It is important that to Tony Khan, you learned your lesson from Camille, and you build Megan Bang up to be the actual powerhouse that you want her to be. Because Camille started that way, and then we kind of lost the plot a little bit when she got thrown with Mercedes. So, again, I'm excited for Megan. I hope that she gets treated the way that she does. And it seems that Chris and Thunder are going to be coming back for some retribution. So I ain't mad. Also, Megan, you are a tall girl. You are an Amazona of a woman. You are Amazon. Love you. Anyways, we move on. So this is probably one of my favorite promos so far of 2025. So, because let me tell you about this dichotomy, because I couldn't find a picture of what happened beforehand. Because first, we get a unofficial music video, a puppet Mercedes Moné, and Harley Cameron rapping across, the instrumental of Mercedes Moné's like theme song. And I'm like, okay, Harley Cameron, gonna be fun. It's camp, love it. But then in the middle of the rap, she's like, hang on, no, stop the track. And puppet Mercedes Moné is like, what's wrong? What's going on? And then we cut to this. My gosh, Harley Cameron, I've loved you before. This promo made you love. This is your best promo, and you are truly established yourself as a babyface, because she talks directly to the camera, to Mercedes, and she says, Mercedes, you say I'm not good, and that's okay because I haven't been doing wrestling this long. But then again, I was told I couldn't do a lot of things, like ventriloquism, playing the guitar, singing, speaking Chinese, and then she drops some stuff. She drops some lines in Chinese. I'm like, that is how you show and tell at the same time. You say you can do this, and then immediately, like, she drops some lines in Chinese. And Harley tells Mercedes through the camera lens, I know I'm a match, but you know what? You are pushing me to be the best version of myself that I can be. So come Grand Slam Australia, it's not going to be as easy as you think it is. I'm going to fight with everything I have. And of course, she ends the promo by saying her catchphrase, feel the wrath. I love this promo. This is on my list of some of the favorite things. And I'm like, 2025 better have a championship for Harley Cameron by the end of the year. I'm ready for her. She has improved so much, and I love her.
I was writing down in the Google Doc, this was my promo of the year, as it kicked over to this second half. I was dying laughing. I watched the beginning of it twice before I even got to this. And this was just such a lovely gear shift into, as acting teacher, make eye contact, breathe, be on partner, all the acting stuff that JBL and I talk about here and stuff that you've sort of adapted as well. This was beautiful. This was heartfelt. This is on there. And I don't see anyone really, it would have to be really special to top this, because make me go from I'm laughing my ass off to my heart's breaking for you.
And I'm like, I'm rooting for you, Harley. I know you're not going to win, but damn it, man, I can't help but not root for you.
Harley, what's interesting to me is watching them out of order. I felt awful watching, but we'll talk about it. We're up against it.
We'll talk about it at Grand Slam Australia, but the women's division, honestly, outside of Willow, this is your other pure baby face in this women's division for sure. And if you build Willow and Harley as your two pure baby faces, the stories that you could tell with these two are going to be amazing. I love this promo, and it's only the beginning of 2025. I'm very interested to see if anybody else can knock it out for me. But we now get into our main event, which is an AEW World Tag Team Championship match. The Hurt Syndicate taking on the Guns. Dare I say, the Guns looked really great in this match. I know we make fun of them, calling them the ass boys and everything, but their time away really helped them, because my God, I'm like, boys, did we pick up on some new stuff? And shout out to the Hurt Syndicate for selling for them to like. This was actually a really fun match.
This was fun. No, yeah, and I see why they ended the night with this. I just felt like Dustin and MJF were a little higher impact, in my opinion. This was great. The Guns still not great on the mic, but way better in the ring. And some of the stuff that Bobby got out of them, some of the stuff that Sheldon sold for them was fantastic. They're playing the story a lot better, if that makes sense. And sort of on the ring, what you do, what you don't do, and all those things. It was really crisp. Some of the great exchanges in here. I'm going to mess up their names. I don't know. I'm going to forget their names. Who's the gun with the long hair?
So that would be Austin, and then
Austin.
short, and then the like receding hairline is Colton.
Okay. I couldn't remember Colton's name. Austin always had hops and can jump, but now he has a bit of hang time, which is just making these things look devastating.
Crazy.
Bobby held him up with one hand for something, I don't even know what it was, just some transition thing, and he was way up there and like froze time for a second. Lovely stuff, and there was some really cool moments in this. I kind of wanna, I don't know. I've always been sort of meh on the Guns, like we all have, right? Even though they've come into their own quite a bit. And they're still young, right? They're late 20s, right? Or are they old?
I want to say they're like late 20s, early 30s, but it's still fairly young in the grand scheme of a wrestling career. They've still got a long ways to go.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say it's not like they've blown it, but they're gonna do some great things if this is now their new pivot, their trajectory that we're seeing.
No, and shout out to the Guns too, because video online surfaced that they were helping, that these two, as well as a couple other wrestlers from different federations, got together and like I think Natalia's like dojo or whatever, and they were helping Charlotte train for the Rumble.
So, cool!
That was cool. So I was like, heck yeah, I love it. So
and of course, Hurt Syndicate's amazing. Like we can't.
Absolutely.
I hope they keep those titles for a year or two. Like they're incredible.
Man, I wish we got the Hurt Syndicate properly in WWE, but I'm glad we're getting it here, and that Bobby Lashley is actually doing amazing things because the previous company fumbled the bag, so to speak.
See, Hurt Syndicate, great ops.
We need a tiebreaker, so we need JVL be like, how do you feel about the new group, the Ops?
We got more to talk about. I don't want to go down this road.
So at this point, I was like, this is a great way to end Dynamite main event. Looked at the time bar. Why do we still have 15 minutes of this show left? Hang on. Because after this, well, as the Hurt Syndicate are celebrating the ring, Lance Archer and Wolverine himself, Adolfo's baby daddy, Brian Cage, comes out. And I'm like, that's a lot of meat.
Give it to me.
Like,
I'll get you, Inspector Gadget. Next time, Gadget. Next time.
That's like the only voice I could do very well. But it seems we'll be getting the beefy boys of the Don Callis family taking on the Hurt Syndicate possibly next, which I'm all excited for. We go backstage. Mariah May cuts a promo that she really does love Toni Storm and promises basically to give her a mercy killing at Grand Slam Australia, which I'm like, Mariah, now that we've seen Grand Slam Australia, we'll talk about it when we get there. Now let's get into what really ended the night. Cope gets into the ring,
Hit him right in the huevos with it, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, he did. Cope basically holds this thing hostage. Mox comes out. Cope's like, I will give this briefcase back to you, but you better give me, I want a title shot, at Revolution. And then he proceeds to hit the case. Well, actually, Mox agrees is like Cope is holding his child hostage because this is where it got weird because Mox, even though he's trying to be intimidating, he kind of shrunk himself in with his posturing a little bit. It's like that briefcase. You have not made me care about this briefcase. We haven't gotten hints about what could possibly be in there. We're assuming it's a championship. I think at this point it's not. I would love to drop hints where it's like some sort of deep dark secret that's in this thing where if it got out, Mox and the Death Riders would be like, oh no, what are we going to do? Moxley, I love you. You did not make me believe the importance of you really need to get this briefcase back. Like we have not gotten anything of why we should care about this briefcase.
I don't get it either. If it's just a championship, so what, right? It's got to be something super terrifying, but maybe we'll find out sometime. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, Mox agrees to Cope's stipulation, so it will be Cope versus Moxley at AEW Revolution for the title. And then all hell breaks loose. Cope smashes the case. The Death Riders come out, to fight. But Cope and Jay White stand tall. Marino is able to get up the beat up briefcase, and that is how Dynamite goes off the air. I'm just like, it was a cluster F of a segment.
See, this should not, you could have done this at any point. and it would have been fine. If you had switched
The MJF
if
fight
you
with
put
Hangman with
put
this, that would have
in
been fine.
Yeah, put this in the middle, put Dustin Rhodes and MJF at the end, everything would have been fine.
Oh, absolutely.
But for some reason, they wanted to end it with this brooding Moxley and brooding Copeland thing.
Yeah, so we're going to move on from Dynamite because now we get into actually some really good stuff. Grand Slam Australia that took place on Saturday, February 15, 2025. This is what took the place of Collision this past weekend. I need Kenny and Will to stop having matches of the year. Like, it's barely February, you guys. Like, these four killed it. To nobody's surprise, this was my match of the card. Like, that one-winged angel hidden blade finisher that Kenny and Will did at the end was crazy, but holy crap. Why was this not the main event?
I've never seen nor heard of a hidden blade off the top rope like that. Is that a thing?
Apparently now it is.
Wow.
Because I don't even remember Will doing that in New Japan.
Wow. So good. This is on my list for 2025. I'm happy to have put that on there. I kind of had a feeling looking at who was in it. Kyle Fletcher was the pillar that held this whole thing up.
Oh, absolutely.
The selling he had the first half of this was just insane. I'm not sure why he walked out looking like a character from Blade 3.
I was like, I screamed, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. All I need, seriously, Kyle Fletcher is one pose away from being a JoJo character.
I mean, it's fine. I don't mean to talk too much shit because he makes more money than I do, but it was just jarring. Like, what? But he made a choice. This was nuts. I think this was just the four of them going, let's do everything that we know no one else can do. Takeshi doing, that's what it was. Takeshi did that double suplex right at the beginning. Like, he hardly had any help. He did it on his own. Like, just so many good things in here. So many ridiculous spots. I think Will Ospreay got too much air a few times, over rotated once or twice. Like, you're gonna hurt yourself. Not quite like Ricochet or Vikingo, but enough to where I was like, please don't die. Oh, God.
Well, okay, let's talk about it, too, because it was pointed out, AEW did confirm it, and, we got to see that ring was hella smaller than what we're used to. I'm like,
so, yeah, is that a thing?
Okay, so here's what happened. So, and, this is from Fightful, and AEW confirmed this, so it's not speculation. But instead of opting to fly in, the ring that AEW used, they decided to rent a ring from one of the local like Australia wrestling companies / dojos around here, and thus we got like a tiny little square that our wrestler, you could tell during this tag team match, I'm like, Takeshita, you're too big to stand on this. Like, he barely was able to stand on the corner.
I mean, but I didn't hate it though.
I didn't either. And like the bounciness to the ropes made it extra fun to watch everything.
Yeah, there was something about it. It just looked different. I don't know how to explain. I mean, it never felt dangerous, right? And I'm sure they've been in all kinds of rings or whatever else, but there was almost something a little more, what's the word? It was not like, Kumite or Bloodsport or anything like that, but there was something about it being isolated a little bit more than it was that just made it in this big ass arena. Made it kind of cool. I got used to it by the end.
For reals. Kenny and Will do pick up the victory here, which I was a little surprised by. I feel like Takeshi and Fletcher should have won, but that's okay. Kenny and Will, we are not done with you yet. We will talk about you in a little bit, but the only critique I have is, we're going to talk about the rest of the matches. I'm like, this should have closed the show. I think like we almost, when we took the order that we talked about these matches last week, we almost got the entire order. I was like, oh my gosh, I think they're following the order that I set up.
No, Tony Khan's watching you.
For reals. He has my house bugged, but
he'll send lightning bolts to your house
and cut off the internet. But yeah, that's my only critique is I wish this main evented based on, now that we saw everything, but still great match. My favorite match of Grand Slam Australia, which is, no surprise to nobody with all the people involved. These four killed it. We'll talk about y'all in a little bit. Harley Cameron, you win my moment of the year 2025. Just the perfect camera shot of you coming up from the floor with the puppet. She doing that.
This is brilliant. It's brilliant. I think, this is my opinion, I think this was Mercedes' strongest match I've seen. Maybe since she might have had one other, but this is the strongest I have seen her since she got here.
Well, okay. And I think part of the reason why is because we knew this wasn't going to be a technical spectacle because, Harley has only been wrestling for 2 years, but she made it look effortless. But I think the thing that's been missing with Mercedes that I feel like she was able to show here, I was like, you're a heel champion. Let's do some of the heel spots, like when she would throw Harley out and then, dust her hands off,
Yeah.
telling her to get out of the ring. I'm like, we got the wrestling. Now let's get the characterization.
All the nods to Eddie, right? Like everything was in there. And I think that's, I don't know, maybe it just clicked. Something about this storyline made it feel better. I don't know, but it was the strongest I think we've seen her since coming to AEW. I can go out on that limb and say.
Absolutely. Before we continue, though, a Wild Will has appeared.
Oh, hello there.
Hi, Will. We are doing great. Me and Professor here are just talking about Grand Slam Australia, and we're going to continue to do so. I will say, though, so Mercedes obviously does win, but Harley put up a heck of a fight, had some really fun spots.
Yeah.
But, Mercedes afterwards goes up to the audience where we see new Stardom wrestler Momo
So
and
mean.
and just takes the title and push it into her face. Now, for those of you who are unaware, Momo Watanabe is the winner of the Wrestle Dynasty Cross International Women's Cup. So she won a fatal four-way between her, CMLL's Persephone, Ring of Honor's Athena, and AEW's, who did they send? I'm trying to think. No, it was Stardom. Yeah, AEW would be Willow Nightingale. So Momo beat those other three women. That match slapped at Wrestle Dynasty in Japan. That was great. And Momo because Momo's the winner, she gets to choose any of the 4 promotions championships to challenge for at any time she wants. And I think she's coming after Mercedes' New Japan Strong Women's title in the near future.
Good.
She hasn't decided what she wants to do yet, but that's a hell of a prize to get a championship match of any of the promotions that were involved in Wrestle Dynasty.
That's kind of awesome.
Which I love. It's great.
And we'll never see that with the promotions we have here in the States, but how cool would it be to do a super card someday, right?
Just give me a one-off, true Forbidden Door. Forget storytelling, forget egos, just have people fight. That's what I want to see.
And just a random GCW walks in, a random TNA walks in, and we just go, what is happening? Oh my God.
Speaking of NXT, we'll talk afterwards, but TNA has made their presence known so far this evening with champions and people crossing over. That's crazy. But I digress. This was a fun match. Mercedes is still champion. I'm interested to see where Harley goes next, but Tony Khan, keep this woman on television. Harley Cameron is gold. To keep her on screen, give her stuff to do because she is.
He knows. He has to know. They've given her better promos. They've given her the budget for it. They have to know.
For reals. So we go to commercial. We come back. We see these two backstage. They're happy they won, but for Kenny, Don has been a thorn in his side for the last 2 years. So Kenny's like, let's make things interesting. So Kenny lays out the challenge that, he says that Takeshita keeps saying that he's the best, and he loves that Takeshita is going all these international places to defend the title, but now it's time to put up or shut up. So Kenny challenges him to a international championship match at Revolution. So I'm hyped. I'm like, listen, Kenny versus Takeshita round 2 is going to be amazing because they've only fought one other time before, and I cannot wait. So there is a little bit of caveat to this because, Dynamite needs to fill their programming for the next 2 weeks. So tomorrow night on Dynamite, we're getting a international championship series. So tomorrow night, we are getting our 2 former international champions, which is Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong, fighting each other. The winner of tomorrow night's match goes on the following week on Dynamite to face Takeshita. Whoever walks out as champion in that match goes on to face Kenny at Revolution as champion. There's no way that Takeshita is not going to be champion heading into Revolution because that's the money match, unfortunately.
I hate that they do it that way because then why watch the next 2 matches?
For reals. But, Dynamite always does this. They have to fill out their quota and their programming. But we're getting Kenny and Takeshita at Revolution. So Kenny passes the mic to Will. Will, I love you. I don't mean anything by this, but this was a funny picture. But Will Ospreay also isn't satisfied with things. He calls out Kyle Fletcher. Every time we fought, regardless if I've won or you've won, the Don Callis family has always stuck their nose in our matches. So we are going to do this where they're going to be locked away. And I lost my mind. because Will Ospreay challenges Kyle Fletcher to a match at Revolution in a steel cage match. And I'm just like, oh God, Will and Kyle are going to be flying off this cage like nobody's business. And the sheer fact that somebody might break a leg
That's what I was
terrifies
gonna
me, but also like makes me like, oh yes.
say. Yeah, first one to break a tibia. Like that's all. That's what we're gonna see. Like they're gonna do dumb shit.
Kyle Fletcher are about to like get on the top rope and like tombstone pile driver from the top ring post. Like they're gonna kill each other, and I'm excited.
And they're friends, and that's what makes it worse. Like this is the Sammy and KO of AEW now, right? Like that's what it's gonna be forever.
This is crazy. We're getting the steel cage match. We're getting we're getting an unsanctioned match like the week before in another promotion. Like we're just throwing all the slots. Be like, all right, we've kind of waited. It's only the beginning of the year, but fuck it. Let's just throw all the crazy stuff out. I'm like, oh my gosh.
And this is why having more than one monopoly promotion makes everything else better.
It does. So excited.
And you can argue that they're all trying to do things to take stuff away from other indies like GCW and a few others that do the dangerous things, but they don't want to take it too far because they got sponsors. But that's a rabbit hole. Let's continue.
Yes. Okay. The match itself was actually really fun. I enjoyed it. Wrong team won, in my opinion. Like, I don't feel the Death Riders needed to win this one. I get it because Cope is challenging Mock for the title at, Revolution and all that. I feel that the wrong people, I still think Cope and Jay White should have won this match. And Moxley, you're a liar because you said you were going to break Cope's neck and he's still perfectly in one piece. So again, I feel like the match itself was fine. I enjoyed it, but I feel that the story that we're trying to tell with the Death Riders, I honestly, I don't know where it's going. And honestly, I don't even think AEW knows where the story is going. Like, this story is not clicking for me. And I feel like we lost the plot when it started. Like,
I don't think they know where they're going. I just think they needed to do something. So they went, well, let's figure it out. And a lot of promotions do this where they just sort of have that MacGuffin type of this is what's important. And then they never follow up on it. And that's kind of what we've run into here, I think. Yeah, like you said, I didn't hate this. There were a few moments where I think Cope was a little gassed and he was selling absolutely, but there were some moments where he was like, I'm too old for this shit. Like there were a few moments where he was absolutely feeling it. I thought Jay got hurt on that European uppercut jumping off the apron. I thought the timing on that was way off. And I thought Claudio got him with his shoulder.
I was like, not under the jaw.
Yeah, luckily he didn't, but that was fine. That table shot Copeland took was tough too. You see at the last moment he's holding his hands up like this just because he knows he's gonna
the edge like curtain, whatever you call that plastic part of the table. I'm like, oh my gosh, it almost wrapped around his neck on the way down. That was scary.
So Moxley's back looking like a red sweater, like just getting destroyed at the end of that.
So for once he did not bleed from the head. That's crazy.
There's a quote.
He bled from his back.
This was solid. I didn't dislike this. I thought the outside the ring work was just as good. I could go either way with them winning. I feel like if Copeland wins, then if it's Copeland and Jay, then where are we going?
Yeah, I'm like, where's Jay fitting into this whole thing? Because we're getting Mox and Cope at Revolution. Yeah. I'm interested to see where Jay is going to fit into that picture, if he fits into the picture at Revolution, but I digress. Again, I don't know where we're going with the Death Riders. We're just going to have to continue to watch. I cannot wait to pick JVL's brain. I was like, listen, let me fill you in on the Death Riders. Not a lot has happened. You have been caught up.
If we get Death Riders and Ops over who has a better name, man.
Okay, we kind of here for it, but I'm not going
to. And the loser has to change their name.
Seriously, it's going to be fantastic. So good.
Good.
But again, Death Riders win over Cope and Jay White. So now let's get into our semi-main event, which was for the Continental Championship match. Okada versus Buddy Matthews. I actually really like this match.
I did too.
It was actually a lot of fun.
Did the internet like this?
You know what? I think the internet was like mostly a positive for this one. But of course, you got a few folks, but I personally enjoyed it. And I didn't even mind where halfway through the match, Okada's like, I'm taking my belt. I'm going home. Y'all are whack.
That was so funny.
And then Buddy Matthews getting on the mic and calling him a wanka and then getting him back into the ring.
Did you see the Buddy Matthews, Rhea Ripley matching vest photo? Love it.
They are the couple I aspire to be.
I really enjoyed this. I think Buddy Matthews is going to do great things. I love him in AEW. I hope he never leaves AEW. However, I do think someday the other promotion's going to offer him the bag. I just think so. There's kind of an empty void. No one quite like him over WWE.
Well, the funny thing is he was there before he came to AEW.
That's what I heard after the fact. But
he was with Seth Rollins for a little bit. Then he got released. Then he came to AEW, and this is where he's been ever since.
He's fantastic. I'm a huge fan. I wish I saw more of him. The first year I was watching AEW, I never saw him.
He crushed it when 205 Live was a thing in WWE. That whole division was great, and then a certain person ruined it, but we don't talk about that.
I hope he gets the nod. I mean, he could be at AEW forever and I would be happy, but I love seeing him doing stuff like this. Yeah. He got hurt? Did you read this or hear about this?
Someone posted a video where he jumped into the ring and then his ankle went sideways, so I think he just rolled an ankle.
Okay. Because there's a part where I'll try and find it where it cuts to his face and you can just see him roll his eyes like, oh, shit. Like he knows he's hurt.
Yeah.
He finishes the whole match.
Exactly. But it does retain. Hopefully it's just a rolled ankle. I want a rematch between these two.
Has the most in shape, out of shape body of anyone at AEW.
I was about to say, I was just like, he doesn't, from afar, he doesn't look in shape. And then he drops those nasty drop kicks of his. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, he doesn't look out of shape, but he doesn't look in shape either.
He is what I aspired to be.
Yeah, he's that sort of, everyman, like, oh, okay, unemployed uncle kind of guy, like, whatever. Like, but then does stuff that, like, how?
And then he'll drop kick you through the door at the bar if you make him.
Oh yeah, he's might be one of the highest just straight jumpers I think in AEW. Like he could probably dunk it.
Oh, absolutely. I love this match. So now I feel like we got a lot to talk about this next one though.
Sure.
Because on paper, I was like, you know what? I'm not mad. This is the main event. This is gonna be fun. I'm like, somebody from this country, from this continent needs to win because up to this point, none of the Australians won their matches.
I was going to mention that.
Were losing. So I was just like, Tony has to win this one. It's inevitable. I really like the match, and this is going to be controversial to say, but it wasn't as great as I wanted it to be. And I think for two reasons. Number one, I feel that like towards the middle of the match, we kind of got lost a little bit of where we're going, what we're doing. And then while it worked in certain cases, the ending was kind of abrupt. I was like, I feel they were told, oh, we got 30 seconds, figure it out. I'm like,
I think the fact that you had the NBA All-Star game take 20 minutes out of it, and then not that would have mattered, right? That shouldn't have mattered. But I don't know what ran long or whatever, but yeah, it looked like Audrey gave him the go home now call, and it's a surprise roll up in the end. I'll say this might be controversial. I think it made Mariah May look really weak after trying to make her this huge, tough villain for months. And that's how she goes. The ending sequence here just flat. Are you muted? You're muted. I can't hear you.
Sorry. I was so frustrated in my feelings. Anyways. But I agree with you because the sequence leading into the finishing, like they were trying to murder each other. Like they were using each other's moves and finishers. Yeah. Like Tony was using the Mayday, Mariah May using Storm Zero. We had lots of hip attacks and corners. Like they were trying to end each other. And then for Mariah to go out on a roll up is kind of sucky. I'm like, Mariah has had a good championship run for as long as she's had the title. I've really enjoyed it. And you kind of make her go wah wah at the end of it when she loses to it. Now,
I mean, you even got Luther in there. Like you could have done this as a.
It would have been iconic if Tony won by smacking Mariah with Aubrey busy with the shoe or something like the bloody shoe that Mariah used. That would have been poetic justice. But no, we didn't get that.
And it's unfortunate. And we'll never know, really. I'm sure it'll come out eventually. But even where they landed at the end didn't feel like that's where they were supposed to be. And they're selling everything they have to, but it just felt like that wasn't what we were supposed to get. But Toni Storm, she's selling it. She's got her championship back, fine. But I don't think she's where we've seen her get. It was something. I don't know. I don't want to go full conspiracy theory, but I feel like something was different about that match. And I'm not sure why. I'm trying to get a timestamp on it right now because it looks like it ran. Hang on. Nope, not it. Nope, that's Dynamite. Sorry, hang on. Oh, because it's at the end. It just went to replay it. I was like, what the hell? It starts. What the hell's going on? Anyway, continue, Mikey. I'll try and find it. So, see, Toni Storm starts her entrance. From the time she starts her entrance to the end is 20 minutes. The match itself from bell to finish looks like it's 15.
They should have given 20 at least.
Yeah. which tells me that, they might have, I don't know. I don't
It's a
want to say it's
bummer.
meddling, but
It's a bummer for sure. But that's going to be it for us this week here at All Elite Ensemble. So next week, I'm like 90% sure there's probably not going to be an AEW review unless something super crazy happens, which means that if that's the case, we will be back in 2 weeks to do another All Elite Ensemble review. And that's the week leading into AEW Revolution, which is crazy. So we will be covering the stuff from Dynamite and Collision. And then we will be reviewing those 2 episodes before the Dynamite and Collision go home shows, and because Revolution's on a Sunday. As of right now, we are planning an AEW Revolution watch along, unless I end up going to Revolution itself in person, since it's in Los Angeles. But no AEW review next week unless something changes. But we'll be back in 2 weeks with the full trio, which makes me super excited. Cannot wait. Love to see it. And so tune in tomorrow night for NXT and CMLL, and then join us on Friday for our TNA review. And then Sunday, catch us on WWE as we review the go-home shows, or the week before the go-home shows, and also do our predictions for Elimination Chamber, because that is next Saturday, which is crazy. I'm excited. We got a lot to talk about. And then, of course, join us later in the evening for our BC Wrestle Pod podcast, where, we do the little matrix where we talk about, this varying levels of wrestling ability and promo skills. So that's going to be fun.
Following that Reddit conversation for a week was crazy.
It was wild, and I cannot wait for that. But from myself, the professor, and the rest of the BC WrestlePod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you in a little bit.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's gonna happen next time? Well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.